Wednesday. Last night I did some data gathering for Kickstarter. Got some information from a bunch of successfully funded Kickstarters, crunched some numbers, see what the averages were and what was popular and what wasn't. All this sort of useful stuff is good to know. Also caught up on some YouTube stuff. New Comic Guy's got a new video out. Talks a bit about his process, which is always good to see an other artist's process. Yeah, it's good to see. It's some interesting looking work going on there. There's a drawing he showed us of I think it's the big bad. It's just some eyes and some hair, and it looks very kind of creepy. I'm looking forward to seeing this scanned and coloured and all that good stuff. New Comic Guy also did me a great honour of putting me on his wheel of fortune, and I got selected, so I'm first out on the list. So we've got a nice big plug from him on Twitter and Instagram yesterday, so thank you for that. That's really appreciated. And we've got a couple of new followers, so welcome aboard. Take a seat. We're all a cool bunch here. We're all good. We're all cool. Although I would point out that new members are expected to bring cakes to everybody, so they're going to work that one out. So today, a bit of typography work, nothing taxing. Bullseye's going off finally. I'm chuffed about that. It's happening today by hook or by crook. If it's not done by midnight, I should be very, very unhappy. Let's go off today. And then we'll do some character design work, and we're back onto developing ideas. Okay, let's crack on with the rest of the day. Oh, bye, by the way. Hi, it's Wednesday, it's midweek, and I just want to say, sometimes life moves real fast. Gets yourself in a bit of a rush, and you don't realise, and suddenly you find yourself living at 90 miles an hour. And that happened this morning. Got a message from a client at about 10 to 7 this morning. Wants to commission me for some work. It's exciting. So, the budget's already been agreed, and it's actually not bad. It's an interesting project, and I think it could be very fun. It's good. It's good. We need a production meeting to sort of nail down what, when, where, how, all that sort of big stuff, big picture stuff. And I guess I'll get started on that soon. Now, in real terms, it could be, depending on the scheduling of the project, it could be that these videos take a bit of a back seat for a couple of months. And if that happens, then apologies in advance. However, it will only be temporary, and we've done hiatuses on this show before, so let's not get too hysterical and worrisome. But I'll try to continue to upload videos, especially these software projects, because I think that's important. I think it's useful to show progress in that project. Anyway, that's this morning, right now, that happened. Last night, I sent off the artwork for Bullseye, finally. I spent yesterday sort of just tinkling around, just doing a little bit, just touching that bit there, just tweak that tiny bit there, just that tiny bit there. I'm quite happy to send it off now. It's the 4th today. Now they need their stuff, they need entries by middle of the month, which is the 15th. So they've only got 10 days left or so to get submissions for this anthology. It's a fast turnaround, so we got in really early, so fingers crossed that will go in our favour, and they'll accept the comic and it'll go into the anthology, and that'll be super duper. I'll love that. I'll be chuffed to bits. What tasked with doing. I caught CB Smallwood's video this morning. We talked about WILDCAT. Oh, hello. You hear that? You hear that? Ambulance. Oh, hello. Here's another one. Is there a convention going on? Oh, he's gone. There you go, a bit of drama first thing in the morning. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, CB Smallwood. He was doing a video this morning talking about WILDCAT, some of the various crazy things that are going to be happening. Chainsaw ninjas, eldritch monsters from the dawn of time. The hero is a kind of a zombie type of guy with a brain that's regenerated, so he has no memories of his past. A mysterious girl who dresses like a fox. You know, it's got all kinds of things going on. His Indiegogo link is down below. If you like a bit of the old 90s style comics with some shotguns, a bit of gratuitous violence, and like characters that look mean as all heck, then I suggest you guys check out the Indiegogo below, which actually rhymes. How about that? I think he's about a quarter of the way through his fundraising. So best of luck, CB. Hope you get your goal. Today, I don't know what I'm doing. I think we'll probably end up trying to get the Golden Challenge finished off, or inked at least. And I've got to refactor a page on the script. I sort of wrote a bit. I was refactoring a page of script last night, and the script was a 6-page script. And I wrote a little bit of an exchange between two characters, which was insightful for the characters. These characters were actually saying things that the characters needed to say, not because the plot said so, because their character needed to know these things. And this little exchange I thought was really sweet. I thought, oh, that's great, I like that. We'll keep this on the page. But now my pound count had gone from say 5, I think it went up to about 9. 10. It was more than I was prepared to handle on one page of comics, so I sort of had to rethink this one. So I think we're going to have that scene over 2 pages instead of 1, which gives both the whole scene a chance to breathe, and we can do some pacing in there to sort of let the scene become more organic. The problem with that is now it becomes a 7-page comic, and I'd rather it be an 8-page comic. So it looks like we've got a 1-page montage, which I think might end up having to be a double-page spread, which actually I think works quite well because we can have more of the montage in there, and we can show more progression. So I'm thinking this could be an 8-page story. So I'm kind of pleased about this. We shall see. We shall see. I think there's going to be some good stuff going on. Well, I think that's about it, really. Yeah, I hope you all have a good week, rest of the week. I shall go away now. I'll come back tomorrow with some more news and or revelations, and I'll speak to you then. All right, I'll see you later. Bye. Okay. Good morning. It's Thursday. The week is nearly done. I spent last night doing yet more script doctoring and writing and adjusting and thumbnailing out pages just to see how they flow together. So I've got an 8-page story which I kind of like, but I've sort of I've kind of painted myself into a corner at the bottom of page 5. I've got a double page spread 4 and 5. And I have to get a certain bit of exposition into, in effect, half a page, and I'm not sure exactly the exact wording I need to make the exposition work. So there's a lot of sort of writing down what I want the character to say, and refactoring it, and rewriting and stuff. And it's a bit tedious, but you know, it's something, you know. So I've got a topic for this week. It's not much of a topic, but it's a topic. So I got a question from a subscriber. subscriber asks how I find all the anthologies that I submit to, and there's two or three places I go to look for anthologies, and first up, in my experience, and submitting to anthologies is a numbers game. It doesn't make sense to submit to one anthology and just leave it at that. It makes more sense to submit to lots, to have like a scattershot approach. You find that you don't care about the genre, you don't care about the page length, you don't necessarily care about whether it's black or white or colour. You're just saying, can I write a story that this anthology might find acceptable? Can I write a story that this anthology might find acceptable? So, brief pocket history. All these anthologies sort of started about a year ago. Yeah, about 2018. This all sort of started. And my first anthology submission was for this book. It was 24 panels. Now, this book was a charity book written for the victims of Grenfell. Serious book. I mean, it's a serious, And I sort of started casting around because I fancied a challenge and something different to try, and at the time I was doing webcomics, and I was doing Consensus Reality and Behind the Sofa. Behind the Sofa only goes for about 13 weeks a year, so I'd got some bandwidth. So I thought, an anthology submission, that could be cool. So I found them on Twitter, just tweeting around looking for stuff. And I did a search for comic anthology submissions, and first thing I found, 24 panels. So I tweeted to them and asked, do you have any writers that want that have a story with no artist? Because I didn't particularly want to sit and write a story. I'd rather have someone give me a story and I'll just draw it, because whilst I've got the bandwidth, I don't want to spend all my time just writing. And they put me in touch with a writer on Twitter who was looking for an artist for 24 panels. That writer was Lee, and we continued to work together to this day. The brief was up to 5 pages, and the story had to be about growth, reconciliation, and positivity. And Lee wrote this story called Hope Has 4 Legs, and it's 5 pages. With the gift of hindsight, I think it should have been 4 pages, because that would make more sense if you're a publisher. If you're publishing, putting together a comic, you're always sort of thinking in terms of chunks of 4 pages. Always think about that, and that's my first top tip. If you're putting together an anthology submission, there's no point submitting, say, a 1-page strip, because that causes more problems than it's worth. Because if you get that, now your editor, the editor of the anthology, now has to find either a 3-page story or another 1-page story and a 2-page story. It is fraught. You can imagine it being a logistical nightmare, because now you've got to fill pages, or you just cut the story, because that's easier. So 4 pages, it makes more sense. That's my tip. Well, we didn't get into 24 panels, so oh dear, never mind. But then I sort of kept tweeting around and looking for anthology submissions on Twitter, and the call came out from True Believers. So True Believers put out a request for scripts for their anthology comic. It came out February this year. Tales from Beyond Infinity Volume 2. The theme of which was teamwork, working in teams, and they got a page count. It's 4 pages, up to 4 pages. So okay, makes sense. And I got in touch with Lee and I said, look, do you fancy working on this one together? And Lee came back with a script called The Play Manual, and it was a corker, a little gem, and we put it together, and I started drawing it on my tablet, and then my tablet went broke. It broke. It went to got itself all kaputted, and so then I had to switch to paper, and that's what I've been doing ever since. I've been working on paper. And I can't afford to keep dropping money on tablets. It's ridiculous. Okay, so we submit the story, and it gets printed. That's our first success. This is great. Then the 100s asked for submissions or people to register interest for their anthology. So having been an active member of the 100s, done a successful run, I put my name down for that. And this was towards the tail end of 2018. Yeah, tail end of 2018. So I registered for that. There was some talk about it, and everything would happen at the start of 2019, start of this year. So I was like, okay, from January, for the first 100 days of the year, I'll be working on this anthology. Brilliant. I also then found another one. This is all on Twitter. Behemoth Comics looking for a submission for an anthology, another anthology, but Stock Ops, which is this book. Now, I got in touch with Lee and said, look, do you want to work on this? What do you reckon? I looked at it, and the idea was you had to write origin stories for one of the many characters in Space Cops. And we both sort of independently derived a story based on the dog Paxton. And the stories were really similar, because we had this idea, I had this idea, and Lee had this idea. And I said, well, look, the idea is really similar, and I just want to see if we were on the same page, so to speak. And so we put together a 16-page story for the anthology, and we did that, and that went off tail end of last year. And over the Christmas break, I got a call back from Behemoth saying, yep, it's been selected, you're good to go. So that's coming out soon, right? This now takes us to the start of this year, and I'm doing my 100th submission, my 100th anthology. All Vets Are Off, which is in this, the 100th book, and I find a call for Little Heroes anthology. They want some stories, and the theme for their anthology is science. So I get in touch with Lee yet again. I say, Lee, can we do a 4-page story? What do you think? And Lee comes back with a 4-page script called Eruption. And I do that as part of the 100s. So in that 100s, I'm doing 2 anthology submissions at the same time. And it gets accepted. And that's due to be released, that's due to be published soon. Soonish. So we've done that. Towards the end of the anthology, again, this one, Lee got in touch with me. One of the people on Space Cops was making his own anthology about Cthulhu and H.P. Lovecraft inspired monsters, and so he put a call out for submissions, and all he needed at that point was scripts. So as we put together a pack of script and a pack of concept art, essentially just doodles and a sketchbook basically. That went off, and we didn't get that. So we didn't get accepted for that one. That's okay. And then I found on Twitter an anthology called Augmented, which the submission window for that closed earlier this year, and that was we pitched a story to them. Basically, we sent them a 10-page script. I thumbnailed it out anyway. And it's all based on sort of Blade Runner-esque type things, and it was very sci-fi-y, based on a script that Lee had sent through a while back, and we'd sort of kicked it around but couldn't really find a good hook for it. This augmented thing comes up, we tweak it around a bit, and suddenly we've got ourselves a 10-page story that actually goes somewhere. We submit the scripts and we get turned down for that. So basically, we're basically 3 and 3 roughly at the moment. So recently, I found someone on Facebook I did a submission for Freestone Comics. They put out, I don't know how I found their work. I think that might have been up on a Facebook group, a Facebook comics group. They put a call out for comics for their zine series Knock Knock, and it was about mythical creatures. And having just done a story with a dog in it for the 100s, and done Hope Has Four Legs, which also has a dog in it, and the story with the Space Cops, which has a dog in it, it seemed only natural that I get in touch with Lee and say, look, let's do something for this anthology. What do you reckon? And we did an 8-page story about something called Black Shuck, which is like a devil dog that you find here in East Anglia. That got accepted and got printed, so we're 4 and 3 at the moment. That's pretty good. That's 7 submissions. At the same time, Freestone Comics also put out a second call for a different zine. That's the deadline for that is up soon, but not yet. And I wrote the story that I was talking about, the urban exploration story. I wrote that as a solo thing, and that took me a couple of weeks to put together. And then finally, this will bring us up to date. So that was accepted. The urban exploration hasn't been accepted. It's been submitted. We're waiting to hear back on that. So what's that? 8. That's 9. So the 10th anthology I've submitted to at the moment is Nottingham Comic Con. They have a charity anthology. A call went out for scripts on Facebook, and I sent them Bullseye, and we wrote that specifically for their anthology based on the theming and the fact that it's Nottingham. That went off this week, so potentially, if the last 2 comics get accepted, then I have roughly a 70% success rate in submitting 2 anthologies. Now, I think, and I've said at the start, that submitting to anthologies is a numbers game, like so much in life. True story. I was at a radio recording. I was a member of the audience in a panel show called the Museum of Curiosity. Now, if you're familiar with the show, you know that there's a curator at this radio museum, and the guests come in and they donate sort of exhibits for this museum, and it's a guest curator every year. The curator this year was TV funny man and stand-up comedian Jimmy Carr. The guests, now there are 3 guests, one of which was the creator of the Ig Nobel Prize, whose name escapes me, a trendy stand-up comedian from Shoreditch, and Buzz Aldrin. Yeah, how we sat in the audience going, oh my god, there's Buzz Aldrin. And throughout this show, there were lots of outtakes, but Jimmy Carr was cracking jokes, and his approach is similar to how I approach anthologies. It was crack a joke, crack a joke, crack a joke, crack a joke. Does it work? No. Try something different, try something different, try something different. However, it got him into trouble with Buzz Aldrin because he started cracking jokes about fake moon landing and getting Stanley Kubrick to film it, and Buzz was basically saying, you keep on with this, you're going to get a bunch of 5s. And to be honest, I can't say I blame him. So Jimmy Carr had to sort of walk it back a little bit, and it was quite funny watching this guy basically get threatened by a guy in his, what would he been, early 80s? You know? And this was, I mean, Buzz Aldrin is he's an old school tough guy, you know. He doesn't look frail. He looks hard as nails still, you know. So, you know, you imagine that a right hook from Buzz Aldrin would still really, you know, give you a right old shiner. And yeah, that's my story. So yeah, I think that's the approach you have to take with anthologies. You sort of have to put together a good script, a good story that solves the brief, which is, you know, well, we have a oh, I don't know, we've got an anthology and it's about the subject of, I don't know, hot air ballooning or mowing stripes in your lawn, and you put together a 4-page script that's funny or sad or relatable in some way. You maybe choose an art style. I always flip between art styles because I can, generally, with degrees of success. And you submit it, and it gets printed, and it gets published, or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, you learn from that. And I think the top tips I've learned are: 1, think in terms of 4 pages. Whatever your story is, it needs to be divisible by 4. That's just a general thing. Some anthologies will be very specific. I want a 1-page story, I want a 2-page story, I want a 3-page story. If you think about it logically, if you have a 1-page story, that makes it very difficult, and it makes it very likely that the stories won't get selected. Because if you think about it, editors and blimey. Oh, he's not going to sell many ice creams going at that speed. If you think about it, you've got an anthology, right? You have a page count that you have to sort of either hit or get really close to. So let's imagine you've got, I don't know, what's good? 60 pages, right? That's 15 4-page stories. But imagine someone now sends you a 2-page story. Well, you've got to hope and pray someone's sending you a 2-page story. Otherwise, you're going to have to drop it down. You're going to have to cut 2 pages off, right? Or what about if someone sends you, say, a 1-page story? Now you've got to find 3 pages of comics from somewhere. Or you can fill it with, like, pin-ups, but now you've got to get someone to do your pin-ups. By not having the right number of pages in your submissions, or not being able to put it together, it means you're having to sort of cancel his story and maybe someone else's story. Because, imagine, I've got this, theoretical 80-page comic. What's that? It's 20 stories, okay? Potentially 24-page stories. Imagine I get 18 or 17 submissions, one of which is a 1-page comic. I'm in the stuck now, aren't I? This thing now is a 76-page comic. So yeah, this is a problem. So think in terms of 4 pages. Submit in terms of 4 pages. Some anthologies will say anything up to 5 pages, and what they're really saying is we'd like a 4-page story. I think, because that makes sense. It's easy to it's easy to compile an anthology if all your stories coming in are roughly 4 pages or multiples of 4. I've got a 4-page, I've got an 8-page, I've got a 4-page, I've got a 12-page. This makes sense. It's much easier to stick together. So tip 1. Tip 2. It's a numbers game. Submit. Do as good a submission as you can. Send it off, and then just move on to something else. It'll either get picked up or it won't. If it doesn't get picked up, you can print that anytime you want. Number 3. Most anthologies will have like a 6-month no republish clause, or they'll request that you don't republish this work for at least 6 months after they've published it. That's not a problem, because it's already out. Most of these anthologies have limited run. They usually don't have like tons of books printed. They might get like 200, 300 books, maybe 500 books, right? So as a courtesy to publishers, I'll go on record right now saying I don't plan on republishing anything that's already been published in an anthology for at least a year after initial publication. There's no point, and it's a courtesy to those guys. Tip 4. Some anthologies will just ask for scripts. Again, thinking 4 pages. Try to make your panel descriptions descriptive. Make sure that if you're reading that you understand where things are, where the geography of the story is happening, and that it makes sense, and that it's it grips people. I would also then, once you've done that, if the opportunity's there, I would get some kind of concept art together. Nothing major, it doesn't have anything crazy. It can be a few sketches in the sketchbook, and it can be a few sample pages, or a sample page. Send that off, and then at that point I would sort of put that in a drawer, put mothballs on it, and wait to hear back. If the script doesn't get picked up, you can take that script and straight away start running with it. You've already got some concept art, you've got the script written, it's multiples of 4, it's basically yours to print and make. Excuse me. Tip 5, unless they ask for it, I would keep all the swears and adult stuff out of an anthology submission. Generally these things are printed at conventions, they're generally designed to appeal to anyone that walks through the front door. So your target audience is most likely going to be families. So think family. But thinking family doesn't necessarily mean writing for kids. You write for. You can have a story that deals with something adult and grown up without it necessarily being heavy-going slog for kids, right? And it doesn't have to be fluffy unicorns to appeal to kids either. I think there's a middle ground that could be struck. That's a generic sort of entertainment that everyone can sort of get something from. So that's a tip there. Next tip, I'm not sure what tip number we're on now. Know your colour spaces. When we did the play manual, that was coloured using just the RGB colour model. The colours are vibrant and that's all very good. However, trick was missed, and I should have thought about it, and I did for the next submission. You're working in CYMK. It's a 4-colour process. The downside is certain crazy neon colours that are very popular right now. Oh, for God's sake. They look great on the monitor and look terrible on the page. So you need to sort of think about this when you're colouring your comic. You're working in CYMK. The colours might look a little muted on the screen, but they should reproduce really nicely in terms of a printing press. What else have we got? I would say, oh God, here we go. Another ambulance. Something's going on this morning. Yeah, and finally, it's challenging to make an anthology submission. It's sometimes the deadlines are very tight. Sometimes you only have a few days to put this together, and a lot of the time, you're juggling a bunch of other things. You might be working on your own comic, you might be working on a submission or a commission for somebody else. Try and have some fun with it. And if it gets too stressful, put it down. Put it down and walk away, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. You're not paid for these anthology submissions. Sometimes you are. And if you are, then okay, you've got to finish it. But if you're not, there's no real obligation there, other than you're making something that's minimal fuss for the editor. Anyway, that concludes this little segment about anthologies. God, I've rattled on a fair bit, and there's been a fair bit of jump cut editing on this one because I've rambled quite a lot about this subject. I think it's really important to do anthologies. I think it's really important to submit work to anthologies. If nothing else, it allows you to collaborate with somebody else. Even if you're a one-man band who sort of does the script and does the pencils and the inks and the colours and writes the theme tune and sings the theme tune, you'll be working with an external editor, for example, because they'll be putting the book together and they'll go, oh, this doesn't work very well because of the story that precedes it or the story that follows it. Anthologies give an opportunity for you to sort of experiment in terms of things like art style, colour choices, panel layouts. How do we draw panels? How do we want to draw characters? Do we want to try a different art style? And I've done all and all of those things in all the anthology submissions. Every one of those is different. The hope is that you couldn't necessarily tell that I've drawn all of these submissions based on just the presented art style. Yeah. Anyway, that's enough for now. This has been a long segment, and I'm on my way to work. Let's hope today that I can get this page written, and yeah, carry on. Alright, I'll see you later. Right, bye. Well, welcome to Friday. Weekend starts here, and I'm shattered. Absolutely shattered. Managed to get page 5 licked. I'm happy with that. I looked at page 6 and I'm thinking that's shaping up really nicely. We'd had some problems earlier in the evening. Water was shot off our village and the next, I think, 3 or 4 villages. There's quite a large area of quite a large number of people affected by this sudden water outage. And then we lost internet as well, so we couldn't log, or it was difficult to log the water outage with the water company because the internet was down. The shop had a run on bottled water, not surprisingly, and it was just all a little bit uncertain. And to cap it all, about 4:30 this morning, my little girl decides that that's the time she wants to start screaming. So I'm a little bit sleep deprived, and it's all a little bit. It's not how I want my weekend to start. Let's put it that way. In any case, I think today I'll be looking at page 6. Now I've got a question for you. This has been an action-packed week. Lots of content going up in this week's video. Here's a question. What do you guys think about building 3D sets for comics? I'm not talking about getting a model of New York from Turbo Squid and putting a filter on it. I'm talking about crafting a set with standing components, taking a screenshot and using that to work out your perspective. Is it worth it? Is it cheap? Is it a valuable shortcut? Is it, what's your views? Comment below. Let's find out what people think. Right, you know what? It's only 7:30 in the morning. I'm on my way to work, and I'm already wanting the weekend to get started and get rested. Really. So you guys will have a relaxing weekend, and we'll pick this up on Monday. Next week we're getting back on the saddle in terms of writing software. So there will be more development on that and other stuff going on as well. Alright, you have a good one. I'll see you later. Alright, bye. Thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're still subscribed and lock the bell for notifications. Okay, bye bye now.